Some people say Vietcong 2 is a disaster, other people say it's fine, just different. And some of you tried to warn me never ever to play it, so you know I had to. Well, let me show you my first experience with Vietcong 2. Oh yeah. But hold on, let's start from the beginning. Vietcong is honestly one of my all-time favorite war games. I think it's fair to call the first game and its expansion, Fist Alpha, masterpieces. At least they are, for me. Sure, they are janky and sometimes deeply frustrating, but they were milestones in tactical shooters. The immersion, the proper squads, the iron sights, the real cover system, and all this in 2003. That was groundbreaking. I've made a video on both games, by the way, if you want to see me glaze them even more. We loved Vietcong so much, and we played the multiplayer non-stop. Halong Port all the way, baby. The game ended up receiving a few awards, and they even managed to sell 1 million copies by 2007, which is not bad for a small Czech studio, and I have to say it basically became a cult classic. God, I hate this word. Especially in the Czech Republic. I'm pretty sure Vietcong is like a legendary game there or something. After all that, you can imagine that the expectations for a sequel were insanely high. And in 2005, Vietcong 2 finally landed. And it was not what we expected. Now, 2005 was stacked for FPS games. Fear, Call of Duty 2, Battlefield 2, Quake 4. It was an epic year. And releasing a janky Vietnam War shooter among those names, now that's a pretty bold move. The guys behind Vietcong 2 are the same as the first game, a small Czech studio called Pterodon, with Illusion Softworks in the background. You know, that's the guys who made Mafia. But after Vietcong 2, Pterodon was basically absorbed into Illusion Softworks, which itself got rebranded as 2K Czech a couple years later. Yeah, a bit of a sad ending for them. Unfortunately, there is not a ton of development history documented about Vietcong 2. I did find some old dev diaries, which are pretty awesome. It's talking about gun behavior, authentic weapons, and everything you can imagine. Pretty cool. But the thing is, for years, I kept hearing, Vietcong 2 was rushed, that's why it turned out bad. But to be honest, I couldn't really find any information on that. So, not sure. If you know or heard anything about this, please let me know in the comments. I'm actually interested in the lore. But still, I have to say, it definitely feels rushed. The game is short. Like, super short. The whole thing takes around 2.5 hours, if you count everything. And I mean everything. Anyway, I never had the chance to play Vietcong 2 back in the day, so this was my first completely fresh and unbiased experience. Let's dive in. Vietcong 2 picks up after the first game. This time we play as Captain Daniel Boone, an American officer during the Tet Offensive. Most of the game is set in Hue. It's a city in South Vietnam, and I'm actually going there in October, so I will let you know how authentic the game really is. I launched the game for the first time, and I was just sitting there. It took me a good minute to realize that this is actually the menu. White font on this background? That's a good idea, guys. Vietcong 2 opens up in a, let's just say, social establishment where services are exchanged for money. Okay, fine. It's a brothel. Honestly, the intro gave me some hope. I just love these visuals. I know it's janky, blocky, and completely outdated for late 2005, but it threw me back to the first game, and that felt amazing. Of course, we can't even finish our chat with this lovely lady before getting called back to HQ. But before leaving, we can have a walk around the brothel, talk to the others, and I have to say I actually enjoyed this section. It's similar to the camp in the first game. Every soldier has something to say, and the atmosphere is fantastic. You can practically smell the booze and cigarette smoke in the air.
How many of ours did we lose? We had 5 worth, but an AK shot isn't as nasty as a 5.56.
Oh, and Hawkins from the first game is here too. He's kinda wasted though.
What have we here? Green Beret.
Sergeant Hawkins, Camp 8216.
We take a short ride to HQ where we can basically do the same. Walk around, talk to people. It's not bad, but can we go back to the previous place? I just felt more safe there. You know. And man, this is where I realized that facial animations are rough. Yeah, I admit, they were quite awkward in the first game as well. But here is just worse, somehow. Turns out, our mission is to babysit 2 foreign journalists who just arrived to cover the war. And the cameraman immediately greets us with a big, warm Ugh. At this point, my body was ready. I was hyped. Bring me the thick, terrifying jungle. Let me hunt for traps, VC, and you know what? Even tunnels. But no. Our first mission is attending a party at the town hall. Yeah, a party. With a lot of awkward speeches.
With help our allies, we will soon win this war. Let us drink to victory. Enjoy the party.
Cringe toasts.
Let us drink to the restoration of the glory of an independent Vietnam.
And I somehow even managed to drink myself under the table, quite literally. Oh, and Captain Rosenfield from the first game is back too. He looks different. But soon it turns out that fireworks are not the only things popping off tonight. And the party quickly turns into a disaster. After fighting our way through the town hall, trying to protect the reporter, we discover that the mayor has been murdered. Oh man, what a shame. He made such a great speech. Our only chance to escape is this pink Cadillac. Oh yeah, lovely. But of course, the driver crashes it a few seconds later. Maybe he just didn't like the color, I don't know. We managed to run back to HQ and have to hold off the VC for a while. This is where I noticed that Vietcong 2 is much more fast-paced than the first game. We can hold more weapons, reloads and movement are faster, and the whole thing feels a bit less immersive for me, which is fine. But the problem is, they kept the hardcore damage system and the laser accurate enemies, and that can be super annoying. After what feels like an eternity, tanks finally roll in and save the day. Then we get a cutscene. God, this looks awful. I loved the cutscenes in the first game because they had the same visuals as the game itself. And you know, they were not beautiful, but they were charming. But in Vietcong 2, they feel weirdly cartoony and cheap. I'm not a fan. Our next objective is to capture a bridge over the Perfume River. Fun fact, it's actually called the Perfume River because of the scented blossoms that used to fall in it. Maybe I should start a Gun Candy's fun fact channel or something. This bridge is an important stronghold for the North Vietnamese army. So it's crucial that we take it. So still no jungle then, I guess. This mission is supposed to be a surprise assault, but of course, someone gets shot early. But don't worry, our medic saves him using an ancient medical technique. Okay. Reinforcements finally roll in, so we can go full force. Blast through a few buildings with barely any cover, and yeah, this is where the laser accuracy and the easy deaths get really frustrating. Turns out, a nearby team is in trouble at the docks, so the bridge can wait for now. So it turns out the problem I showed you in the intro did not only apply to me, but also the enemy corpses and weapons. So basically I couldn't pick up any weapons, and I could also pass through some doors, like a ghost. And during this mission, I accidentally dropped my weapon, which immediately fell under the texture. So I had to use the pistol. Really fun. But thankfully I didn't give up and found a solution. Turns out I had to untick this FPS limit when I start the game and also limit the FPS to 60 in my control panel. Don't even ask how long it took me to figure this out. We end up cleaning the whole shipyard and save the squad. And honestly, I love this section. It reminded me so much of Halong Port from Vietcong's multiplayer. Wait, this might be the first good thing I say about this game, right? Damn, sorry. Oh, I didn't even realize you guys were twins. But we get overwhelmed and it's time to get creative. How do we surprise the VC from behind? I will give you 5 seconds to guess. Yes, the sewers. To be fair, I expected a long, claustrophobic section, like the tunnels in the first game, but it only lasts a few seconds. Not sure if I'm happy or disappointed. We ambush the VC, take the bridge, and the reporter guy immediately starts broadcasting.
The strategic ground held by the NVA across the bridge was taken in their surprise attack during the Tet ceasefire.
Well, maybe that was too early. The next mission is, I'm not sure, because this is the only briefing we get.
What's so special about this SOAC guy, sir?
He's a high-ranking guy in the Arvin intelligence. He knows too much.
I guess we need to rescue someone named Soet. Not sure who that is, though. Whatever. At this point, I started to realize that Vietcong 2 completely ditched the jungle setting, which honestly breaks my heart. The jungle was the soul of the first game. Not that the city looks bad, but it's not what I was hoping for. Anyway, back to the mission. Of course, my driver gets headshot and I have to continue on foot. I did find this absolute beast of a gun, though. It's like a truck. And look, this is exactly what I was talking about. The city does look charming. I mean, just look at these old colonial buildings, the narrow alleys, the clothes hanging outside. It feels really authentic. We end up reaching the town hall, yeah, again, which is full of VC now. We do a little sniping and take the radio back. Awesome.
Starship Enterprise, this is your captain speaking. All Klingons are eliminated. The Starfleet should assemble in front of the building at this time.
Then we finally find Soet, who turns out to be a captain. Okay, sure. Then, in the good old American fashion, we start liberating the city block by block. My favorite weapon from Fist Alpha makes a return too. Always happy to see you, old friend. Honestly, maybe just because of the gun, but I really enjoyed this mission. Having a proper squad blasting through the city is just fun. We also get the chance to visit the brothel again. It looks different this time. But sadly, we get interrupted, because it turns out the enemy are holding hostages in the cathedral, and we need to save them as soon as possible. I tried to do this as a stealth mission at first, but yeah, it didn't work. Naturally, before I could even enter the cathedral, I had to deal with this. Oh, and also this. Thanks, I guess. We fight through the cathedral to some epic background music. But unfortunately, we can only save few of the hostages. Crap. And it's not over yet. There is another hostage in a nearby building, so let's go there. We blast the door in this goofy cutscene, and after a quick chat, the guy releases the hostage, kind of.
Drop the gun, you slopehead.
Tôi làm theo lệnh, lính phải chấp hành lệnh.
No!
Daniel, please never start a hotline. The next big target is the Emperor's Palace. But since the bridge is gone, we have to use the river to reach it. I have to say, at this point, I was super confused about the timeline. The reporter says the liberation was announced on the 10th of February.
The liberation of the city was officially announced on the 10th of February.
But the mission starts on the 2nd of February. What? Anyway, we get a little rail shooter section here with the boats. It's not bad, just a little too long for my taste. Eventually, we get stuck on a destroyed bridge, and the solution is to blow it up again. Physics, guys. Once that's sorted, we finally reach the palace grounds and get a pointless cutscene. Okay, it's time to clean the area near the palace. And this is a pretty awesome section, actually. I started to feel like I'm actually playing Vietcong. Lots of covers, more tactical warfare. Nice. Finally, after destroying a few enemy mortars, we get a small documentary with the reporter.
Any of us could be shot dead anytime by some bastard hiding in ruins or thick bushes. They don't take prisoners, so we don't take them either.
And here we are, the final level, and it's inside the palace. And yeah, this is easily my favorite mission in the entire game. I think it's pretty cool that they made the palace realistic. Like, if you check the photos on Google Maps, you can actually see that it's pretty damn close. This was the first time that I actually felt the same care and love that I felt in the first game. The palace looks beautiful and detailed, the vibe is cool, and just a great mission altogether. But of course, they had to ruin it with an underwhelming ending.
The Arvin are taking over. That was a hell of a fight, but this time, we won.
That's it? Really? So yeah, the Tet offensive was successful, and the story of Daniel Boone is over. Fine, I have to admit, the credits are once again awesome. I love to see these guys having fun. But wait, Don't leave just yet. Remember the guy who blew his head off? Yeah, him. There is an extra Vietcong campaign based on his diary. Yeah, I was praying for a Vietcong story in the first game, but we never got it, sadly. So I love that they added one here. The saga starts after World War II, with Vietnam divided into North and South. The North was led by the Communist Party, and they wanted to unify the country. This is where our story kicks off. Three friends joined this movement to fight for the liberation and unification of their country. Unfortunately, it soon turns out that it's not gonna be as easy as they were told. And finally, we are back in the jungle. After 2 hours, we are where we should be. It actually has a very similar vibe to the first game. The atmosphere is amazing. The voice acting is authentic.
Rồi có ngày nào đồng chí sẽ trở nên anh hùng nhân dân cách mạng như tôi đấy.
Cảm ơn đồng chí, em sẽ cố hết sức.
And I just simply love this extra campaign. Oh, and the mission variety is awesome. We take down helicopters, storm an American base, ambush convoys, and even attack a temple that looks fantastic. And traps are also back. Hell yeah. So yeah, this finally felt like I was playing a Vietcong game, and I actually found myself having a lot of fun. But then it was over, just like that. Yes, this whole campaign is like half an hour maximum. So yeah, in total, Vietcong 2 has 2 campaigns that barely add up to 2.5 hours. I mean, come on, what happened? Anyway, this was Vietcong 2, a questionable sequel that I cannot really hate, but it's hard to like too. Let me quickly sum up my thoughts. When it comes to graphics, I honestly think the cutscenes, character models, weapons, and yeah, basically everything feels like a downgrade. It just looks like a budget Call of Duty or a knockoff Source Engine game, and for late 2005, these graphics were pretty whack. The characters and voice acting are actually decent. I especially liked hearing all the different accents, American, Australian, British. It added a nice touch. The story is not much, let's be honest. It's just a series of random missions after each other, really. I do appreciate that they tried something with the reporter, but they didn't really follow through. He pops up in a few cutscenes, you see some footage, and that's about it. But the fact that it takes 2 hours just to reach the first jungle mission, that actually pissed me off. And it doesn't feel like a Vietcong game to me at all. I'm not saying the city missions are bad, they are fine, but they feel kind of generic, and I can't see myself replaying them over and over again. I know, this was also part of the real war, but come on, surely they could have found a better balance. What I'm trying to say is the first Vietcong stood out because it dared to be different. It wasn't just another war shooter. Vietcong 2, on the other hand, turned into exactly what it didn't want to be. Just another shooter from the early 2000s. Faster paced, less immersive, barely any jungle. It might as well be a Call of Duty clone. I feel like if they put more focus on the Vietcong campaign, this whole game would have turned out differently. Because that part is actually pretty awesome. Just really short. And the VC campaign has some pretty epic battles, like crawling in the trenches against heavy fire, liberating our village from the American soldiers, or the assault on the temple. That was legendary, and it was great to experience the other side of the war. A lot of people call this game a disaster or the worst sequel ever, but let's be real, it's not. It's just mid. If you love early 2000s shooters, you should give it a try because it might be fun for you. But if you're looking for something special, yeah, stick to the first Vietcong game. Anyway, let me know what you think about Vietcong 2. Have you ever played it? What was your experience? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to join our Discord if you want to have a chat about games or play with us. And if you like this kind of content, consider dropping a like or subscribing. I would really appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.